Welcome to the Saturday Slam and Jam here on the Athletic NBA Daily. On today's show, we are bringing you the moments of the week. The Slammies are here once again, and Mike Richman of Locked on Blazers joins us to talk about the Portland Trailblazers. But to start, Al, tell me about the top stories this week.
Well, Andrew, the top story this week was the Denver Nuggets, who made firing Taylor Jenkins with 9 games left in the season look pretty reasonable, because on Tuesday, with only 3 games left in the season, the Nuggets fired both head coach Michael Malone and GM Calvin Booth. Now, Malone ends his 10-season run with Denver as the franchise's winningest coach, leading them to the 2023 championship. Calvin Booth, he traded for KCP, he drafted Christian Brown. 2 important moves for the Nuggets title run, but things had gotten rockier since then, with Booth and Malone butting heads over team-building philosophy and roster decisions. Things came to a head after the Nuggets lost 4 in a row and looked at risk to fall into the play-in. David Adelman has taken over as the Nuggets head coach for the rest of the season and got his first win as head coach against Sacramento on Wednesday night. Adelman started Jalen Pickett in the game and only played Russell Westbrook 16 minutes, his lowest minute total since early December. Reports suggest that Westbrook's playing time and preferential treatment had been one of the issues this season for the Nuggets. Now, after a rocky week, the good news for Nuggets fans is that Jamal Murray is likely to return on Friday night for a huge matchup with the Memphis Grizzlies. As of now, the Nuggets sit in 4th in the West, 1 game behind the Lakers, who also had an eventful week. On Sunday, the Lakers got a dominant 126-99 win over the number 1 seed Thunder in OKC, a game in which they made 15 three-pointers in the first half, tying a franchise record for most threes in a half. 2 days later, it was Groundhog Day because the Lakers were once again playing the Thunder in OKC and once again hit 15 threes in the first half, tying a franchise record for most threes in a half. Now, the game was much closer this time, however, with Luka hitting a shot with 7:42 left in the game to put the Lakers up by 1. Unfortunately, while trying to shout a couple expletives at a fan after the made basket, ref JT Orr was in his sightline and assumed that Luka was yelling at him. Luka was assessed a second technical of the game and ejected, leading to a 29-12 finish for OKC, who picked up their 65th win of the season. The Lakers' next game was one of the more anticipated games of the season, with Luka returning to Dallas for the first time since Nico Harrison decided his Wikipedia entry needed an update. The Mavericks played a pre-game tribute video for Luka, which left him visibly emotional as the game started. Yeah. The tears didn't slow him down, however, as he dropped 45 in his return, leading the Lakers to the 112-97 win. At the end of the game, Mavericks fans could be heard loudly chanting, "Fire Nico," with a courtside video showing former owner and guy who thought he would still get to run the team after selling it, Mark Cuban, in significant distress as the chants continued. Now, in an article this week on ESPN, Tim McMahon reported that team sources told him the decision to trade Luka will probably cost the franchise 9 figures over the next several years, as they are projected to lose revenue due to dwindling crowds, plummeting merchandise sales, and sponsors severing ties with the team.
Oh, my word.
Now, I wanted to end this part with some good news, but I couldn't really find anything for the Mavs. However, I did Google the NHL standings, and the Dallas Stars are 2nd in the West. Now, they are on a 4-game losing streak, and they did get shut out by those damn Winnipeg Jets in their last game. But when you've got Mikko the Moose Rantanen signed through 2033 and Wyatt Johnston at only 21, you gotta be feeling good. Now, also this week, we had several teams finishing their season strong. 3 teams currently are on a 6-game winning streak. In the East, the Pacers picked up their 6th straight win by beating a shorthanded Cavs team, locking in a top 4 seed. The Bucks are also on a 6-game winning streak, picking up a very impressive win over the Wolves this week, a game in which they trailed by 24, only 10 minutes left in the game. Milwaukee finished that game on a 39-8 run. The third team on a 6-game winning streak is the LA Clippers. During a win over a shorthanded Rockets team on Wednesday, Ivica Zubac had his first career triple-double, capping off an impressive season. The Clippers finished their season at Sacramento and then at Golden State, a game that will have huge seeding implications. Golden State could have solidified their place in the West this week before this matchup with a couple of easy games, but instead, they lost to San Antonio on a buzzer-beating 3 by former Dub Harrison Barnes.
Yeah.
The loss has thrown the Warriors' seeding into jeopardy, and that Clippers game on Sunday may decide if they will fall into the play-in or finish in the top 6. Finally, we get another name added to this year's Hall of Fame class. Dwight Howard has been elected as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Howard was an 8-time All-Star, 8-time All-NBA player, led the Magic to a finals appearance in 2009, and eventually got his own ring with the Lakers during the bubble in 2020. Howard was known for his defensive prowess, making 5 all-defensive teams and winning DPOY 3 consecutive seasons from 2009 to 2011. He finished his career as the Magic's all-time franchise leader in points, rebounds, blocks, free throws, and minutes played. So congrats to Dwight, and those were the top stories this week.
I can't believe that one of the Dallas Stars' names is Miko.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
They cannot escape it. It's just
One of his nickname is Rance, which I really like.
Oh, Rance. I like that. Yeah, don't call him Miko. Al, it's time for the annual Slammies, the season-ending Slammies.
Season-ending Slammies. How exciting. The Slammies, we do them roughly 2 to 3 times per year. I think I always say we're going to do them 3 times, and then we always do them 2 times.
Yeah.
And our first award, we've got 10 of them, I think, is brought to you by BetMGM because it's the Stat of the Season award. Okay, this award goes to our favorite stat this season. And my stat is about the Houston Rockets. And currently, the Rockets, who are the 2nd seed by, in this Western Conference, a mile, with all these teams bundled up, they have the 7th best odds in the West currently to win the West, plus 2,200.
It's absurd. That's absurd.
It's absurd. It's absurd. And listen, I get it because I've been one of these people who have doubted the Houston Rockets all season. Oh, yes, they're having a very nice season, but am I really going to take them seriously in the playoffs? I think depending on who they match up with, they could be an underdog in their first round series, that 2-7 matchup. And one of the things that people don't like about the Rockets or that gives them pause is their offense, which, for the season, 11th. If you look at their offensive rating by month, 9th, 21st, 13th, 8th, 24th, and then 7th. But what I think is really interesting, and is my stat of the season, is that against teams with a top 10 point differential, the best teams in the league, the Rockets are 5th overall in offensive efficiency.
Wow.
So when they've played the best teams in the league, their offense has stepped up. And they've been one of these teams that has absolutely played up to their competition. Sometimes when you see a team like this who goes on a nice run and kind of has a surprise, oh my gosh, it's a surprise 2 seed. Oftentimes it can be because they're just beating up on all the bad teams and they're just okay against the good teams. That's not really the case with Houston. They've actually been very good against the good teams in the league. In fact, they have the 2nd best record in the West against teams that are 500 or better. So I think it's at least, as we get these matchups, at least worth considering, are we underrating the Rockets a little bit, at least in maybe these first 2 rounds? So that is my Stat of the Season award.
Even just round 1. Honestly.
Yeah, just round 1. Give them a chance.
Everybody feels like they're loading up to beat the Rockets, but I'd be hesitant about that. Not that there's some much better option out there in the Western Conference. It's just going to be tough. I think that they're just as tough. My stat of the season: the Thunder are 18-10 in games that they trail by 10 points or more. That's the best record when trailing by double digits for any team in the last 29 seasons. So no team this season is better than 500. Cleveland is next at 13-14 in games that they trail by 10 points or more. I just thought that was pretty wild. And it shows the resiliency of this Thunder squad, that they get down early or they're even down in the second half. We've seen them down in the third quarter, 10 points, and they'll just have these avalanches of points where that suddenly they're down 10. Now they're up 10. We've seen that many times. And this stat really bears that out. This one came from John Schumann from NBA.com. But I just thought, if you're looking for a stat that kind of indicates who the Thunder are in a lot of ways, it is these monster runs that they go on. And it starts on the defensive end for them. It's not just, they're nailing a bunch of threes. A lot of it is that they're able to get out in transition. They're able to just shut teams down. We saw them do this to the Lakers the other day after Luka went out. They just went on this massive run after it was a very close game. And, things like that happen for the Thunder often. And this record indicates that. It's an unusual team in a lot of ways, the Thunder are, but this stat really, to me, kind of stamps that for them.
a free bonus stat, Andrew, because there's one I found this week that I thought was funny. We talked about how, games that were decided by 3 points or less, OKC's only had 5 of those games this entire season. Yeah. So I went back and I expanded it to 5 points. Just a game that ended within 5 points.
Yeah.
They've had 6 of those games. So you add one more game. It's just crazy how dominant they've been at the end of some of these games where some of these games have been close, with 5 minutes left. And then by the end of the game, it's a 10-point game.
Yeah. I went back and looked. They have 66 total clutch minutes.
Yeah.
Which is the fewest amount of clutch minutes since the 98-99 Cavs, who had 68. So they've got 2 more games. By the time you're listening to this, we'll know if they actually played crunch time minutes against the Jazz in a game that nobody really cares about. But they have basically 2 games to have like the lowest total clutch time minutes that I can find, at least.
So that brings us to our second award, the Quote of the Year award. This award goes to our favorite quote this season. And my Quote of the Year award, it's a very recent quote. It's a quote from this week because I thought it perfectly summed up what was the biggest story of the year. When Jason Kidd was asked to address Mavs fans who feel hopeless post-Luka trade, Kidd said, quote, "This is a business. It happens, right? Trades happen. This won't be the last trade. Someone compared it to Babe Ruth, which is kind of cool." At every single opportunity post-trade, anyone who has spoken for the Mavs organization has somehow been able to conjure up the most out-of-touch response. It's kind of incredible. Mavs fans are just looking for like a glimmer of competence or maybe some genuine empathy to make them feel that someone in this organization cares about the fans. And instead, they've gotten things like Jason Kidd referencing the comparison of a 100-year curse in a positive way. Oh, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It feels like everyone in the Mavs organization still hasn't realized the gravity of that trade. And even when they do for a brief moment, the response is, oh, it's kind of cool. This trade is the defining moment of this season. And the Mavs' obliviousness has been the defining feature of that organization post-trade. So congrats to Jay Kidd winning my Quote of the Year award.
Speaking of obliviousness, I just can't get away from any Matt Ishbia quote. And I just have to bring some of these up again from Tim McManus' article on ESPN. It's surprising to me that other fans, they actually like the rebuilding process. Like, oh, let's rebuild it. Are you crazy? You think I'm going to go for 7 years and try to get there? You enjoy the 2030 draft picks that we're holding. I want to try to see the game today. I want us to win today, and we're going to try. Although, let's say that doesn't work. Well, guess what? Maybe next year we won't be as good, but we're not going to. But we're going to try again. The next opportunity we have, we're going to try to win and compete, and it will work. We will win a championship here in Phoenix. Might not be this year, but I promise you, we're going to do it, and that's what we're focused on. Al, this is a team that is going to be spending $366 million this year on their team. Close to $400 million. Their salaries at $240. They're paying $150 in luxury tax, which is just insane. More than any other team is paying by $60 million. I mean, it's unbelievable. And this team was completely eliminated from the play-in the other night by the Thunder without SGA.
Hartenstein, Dort.
Without Dort. I mean, like they were resting guys for this game and felt confident about beating them. They beat them by double digits. Ishbia at the helm I would be terrified. I think I said that whenever I read this quote earlier this season. I just don't think that Suns team is going anywhere. I expect Kevin Durant, like everybody else is saying, to be traded. And this could end up being like one of the bad teams in the Western Conference, because like this, you look at the roster, like they paid a lot of money for the roster. They have stars, but you can't even sniff the play-in. I mean, that's just awful. And like these quotes, just like they need to keep him away from a microphone, Matt Ishbia. Yeah. Like he just got to stop.
Two things. One, I thought it was really funny. Zach Lowe comes back he's doing his podcast. One of the first things he brings up was a Matt Ishbia quote about how 28 other teams or whatever
would trade for our roster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
I just thought it was so funny that Zach's been gone for like a year and that's been the quote he's just been waiting to talk about.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, John Hollinger had a good article on The Athletic this week, kind of making the case that they have to consider a Devin Booker trade.
Yeah.
Because it is like their one out where they could recoup a lot of value, because the value that you would get from a KD trade is questionable right now based on him being an expiring contract. I just don't know how much you would get back. So that brings us to our next award. I wasn't familiar with your game award. This award goes to the player who changed our opinion about them the most compared to how we felt coming into the season. And for me, listen, I was very wrong about the Clippers, Andrew. You were wrong. We were wrong. There are aspects of getting the Clippers wrong that I can look back on now and say, yeah, I should have seen that coming. James Harden playing a full season and being good after he'd done the same thing last year, I could have seen that coming. Norm Powell being able to pick up some of the scoring slack, considering he was almost a 20-point per game scorer several years in Portland, I could have seen that coming. Chris Dunn being a really good pickup after being good in Utah the previous year. If I didn't have my OKC blinders on, greedily wanting that Clippers pick to be valuable, I could have seen those things coming. But the thing I don't think I would have ever seen coming was the jump that Ivica Zubac had this season. Now, maybe I could have seen him becoming the anchor for a top 3 defense, since that's been his calling card in the NBA. And this Clippers team has so many good defenders. But the jump he's made offensively has blown me away. And as I mentioned earlier, what a great week to be talking about him after he has his first career triple-double, putting up 20, 11, and 10 against Houston. Offensively, after averaging only 1.3 post-ups per game last season, he averaged over 4 per game this season, tied for second most per game.
Say that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he's tied with Şengün and Giannis. And scoring a very solid 1.06 points per possession on those post-ups. He had a career-high 35 this year. He scored almost 17 points per game, which for me is the definition of I wasn't familiar with your game, because I did not know he could have that sort of consistent offensive impact night in, night out. So he gets the award for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. He had a really great season. For me, Denny Avdia. So when the Blazers traded Malcolm Brogdon, the 14th pick in the draft that became Bub Carrington, a 29 first-round pick and 2 second-round picks, honestly, that's way more than I remembered. The Blazers giving up. I didn't remember they gave up that much to get him. But when they initially made that deal, I really scoffed at it. I thought, oh my gosh, what are the Blazers doing? They're so far away. Why are they trading for players? And they're trading away a lottery pick to get a player in now. It's been just a home run for the Blazers to get Denny. He's averaged 23, 9, and 5 in March with insane efficiency. He initiates the offense for the Blazers, and at 6'9", over 200 pounds, he's giant and he has guard skills. And on top of all of that, he's got a ridiculous contract. He has a descending contract that'll pay him $11.8 million in 27-28. That's going to be like rookie scale money by that time. And to get a guy who will be in his prime for that money is crazy. He's increased his VORP from 0.6 to 2.2, his blocks plus minus from negative 0.9 to 2, his win shares from 3.2 to 5.5. The Blazers are over 6 points better per 100 possessions on offense with him on the court. He's had a spectacular season. He had a stat line against the Bulls, 37, 11, and 5. I mean, this is a very, very good player. He had a 30-point triple-double against Cleveland in an overtime game. And above all that, the Blazers have just been way more competitive than anybody thought they would be. And I think that a large part of the credit should go to Denny Avdia, who was a guy that could not drag the Wizards to anything. And that's kind of why I didn't think this was such a great trade for them. But Denny is clearly improving and was not familiar with this part of his game.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, honestly, the only negative thing you could say is that he's their best player. And how far can you get? How are they going to get that next player? How are they going to find a top 20 guy to pair with Denny?
At least they have him. They couldn't.
But at least they have him.
Could just have Bub, which I'm a Bub guy. I'm a Bub guy.
Our next award, the Future is Now, Old Man Award. This award goes to the player who we believe will be universally considered a top 20 player by the end of next season. Okay, top 20. It's a big jump. Big jump. My choice for this award is Franz Wagner. And I think if the Magic season had gone the way it was looking early on, we might already be thinking of Franz that way. But because of the injuries, because it's been so many months since the NBA community at large has even thought about the Magic, I was thinking about like listening to national NBA pods, how long it's been since I've heard a Magic segment. I think as a result of that, his season's gone under the radar a little bit. And assuming they make some much needed moves this summer to bolster that offense, next season, Andrew, year of the Franz. He put up career highs across the board. Year of the Franz. Put up career highs as far as counting stats. He's right around 24, 6, and 5 per night. Got his free throw attempts up over 5 per game. Now, the three-point shooting, obviously still an issue. But I really loved everything else we got from Franz this season as his usage skyrocketed. Did you know he was top 10 in usage this season? He's at 31% usage. I think he was like at 25 last season. And that stretch he had early in the season when Paulo went out, it was incredible. And I'm just making a bet that as their offense and spacing hopefully improves, things are going to get easier for Franz, they're going to get easier for Paulo, and their ceilings are going to start being fully realized. So that is my pick.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think Franz is a great player. They just need more perimeter help. Like, it's great that his usage is that high, but like they need a guard.
But it shouldn't be. Yeah, they need a guard.
That is not great. I'm another homer pick for me. I'm going with Chet. I think Chet Holmgren is going to be one of those guys. I think he can be dominant on both ends. Offensively, since he's come back from injury, we've seen it in spots. Like he played great in Phoenix the other night, got to the free throw line a ton, but I still think that area of his game is coming along. But when you saw him at the beginning of this season, like the first game of the year, they just killed Denver. He had 25 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks in that game against Jokic. Like he was an absolute monster against Atlanta before the injury, 25, 9, and 4 with 6 blocks. I mean, this guy was just a absolute beast. And he was taking more threes. Just like the quick trigger threes, I think is really important. I think that's something that he's worked on too, that he's been doing a little bit more since he got back as well. But to me, he can be an offensive star, but I think he's going to be he already is a defensive star, but I think like getting a full season, I think that he'll be absolutely cemented as a top 20 player. Opponents are shooting 54% in the restricted area against Chet. 54%. So just like some context for that particular number. Victor Wembanyama, teams are shooting 62% whenever he's the defender in the restricted area. Anthony Davis, 66%. Gobert, 63%. Evan Mobley, 61%. Triple J, 63%. Kristaps Porzingis, 59%. Daniel Gafford, 58%. And teams are shooting 54% against Chet Holmgren whenever he's the defender at the rim. He's an elite rim protector. He's a guy who can space out and shoot it. His drive game is starting to improve. He shot 13 free throws the other night against Phoenix. Like there's a lot there for Chet. And if he's had 2 fluky injuries, and some of that you can point to like his body, like absolutely. Like I think that he's got to continue to improve his body. But if he can stay healthy like he did his rookie season and he doesn't play all 82, but play 75 games next year, I think that we will think of him as a top 20 player by the end of next season.
Now, Andrew, I noticed that you left Luke Cornett off of your list. Why are you ignoring Luke Cornett?
I'm talking about starting centers. That's why.
I am
guys
too.
That play significant minutes.
Too.
Are you?
Future starting center, Luke Cornett. Yeah.
Why didn't you just pick Luke Cornett for your The Future is Now Old Man award? Come on.
That would be something. By the end of next season, Luke Cornett was considered top 20.
I'd really respect that. I would really respect that.
That would be my greatest call of all time. Okay, our next award, the Time Traveler from August 2025 award.
Yeah.
A time traveler shows up from August 2025, and they only have time to tell you about what happened to one team this upcoming offseason. You get to learn about what happened in the draft, free agency, any trades, and this award goes to the team we would pick in that scenario. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's an obvious one. It is the Houston Rockets, just because they have the most stuff going on. First, even if they don't jump up they're likely going to have a top 10 pick in this draft.
Yeah.
And I'm so interested to see how they handle drafting and potentially incorporating another high pick. Seeing how hard it's been for guys like Cam Whitmore or Reed Shepherd to like really break into this rotation and have a big role. But maybe it's time for a big move, and maybe that pick will be involved in a star trade. You know, they will be one of the few teams that can have cap space. With the rise of Amen Thompson this season, do they start reorganizing their team building around him a little? You know, Houston has been incredibly patient, to their credit, but it feels like this is the summer where they are primed for a big move. On the other hand, what if they make a run in the playoffs? What if they make a surprise run to the conference finals? How would they handle that? There's so many ways this summer can go for Houston, and that's why they'd be my first choice when that time traveler arrives.
Yeah, I kind of want to know about Houston too. That would have been my pick as well. My second pick is Denver. They fired Calvin Booth. They fired Michael Malone this week. You know, they could just kind of stand pat, keep the guys that they have in house, promote everybody from within, let go of Russell Westbrook, and move forward. Like, it could be pretty boring.
Yeah.
But like, what if they flame out in round one? And then ownership is like, hey, we need to cut payroll. Like, we need to not be a team that's paying this much. Like, we need some more flexibility. Like, we're not going to pay the tax, you know, for a team that's going out in round one. What do we do here? You know, can you trade Michael Porter Jr. and what does that look like? Do they look at a Jamal Murray trade? Like, what I think that it's very volatile, clearly, in Denver right now. And I think regardless, they need to do some work to their roster to bring in better players for Jokic. But I think that this should have been a very easy team to build around, because like, you have the best player in the world and you have a guy that literally almost anybody can play with this guy. Yeah. And I just think they've made so many missteps to get to this point. And now it's like, okay, how do we either undo some of these missteps and get this car back on the road, or do they continue to go in a bad direction? And then, like, not that they would trade Jokic this summer, but these are the kinds of decisions, and this is the kind of instability that would cause a star player like Jokic to say, you know what, send me somewhere else. And so I'm curious to see how this all plays out. Like, maybe they make a surprise conference finals run and then everything feels fine and David Adelman is the guy and everybody feels pretty good. That could happen. But if they flame out in round one, I think that there's a lot on the table for Denver. So I would love to know what happens in Denver.
Yeah, I was encouraged by some of the things I read about David Adelman. It seems like the players really like him. Apparently, he was going to be a hot name on the coaching market. Like, Portland might have been interested in him if they moved on from Chauncey Billups. But yeah, thinking about like building around Jokic, it kind of reminds me of like the old Harden teams, where it really did feel like you could just stumble into 50 to 55 wins every year. You know, if you just put just some regular NBA players around him, and it just feels like they still haven't like maximized it. You know, Houston had a couple seasons where they were in like the 60s, you know, and the fact that this Jokic team, the most wins they have has been 57 last year. You know, it just feels like a Jokic team should be able to win 60 games. You should be able to put around a team around Nikola Jokic that wins 60 games. But they have struggled to do that so far. So yeah, I'm interested as well. Next award, the Pleasant Surprise Award. This award goes to the player or team we were most pleasantly surprised by. And for me, this story starts back in the 2021 season. The Thunder were in the midst of their first tanking season. And as fans of tanking teams know, it's very easy to start talking yourself into whatever random player your GM has added to the roster. Moses Brown, Teo Maledon, Darius Baisley, Isaiah Roby. Each of these players had a moment where different factions of the Thunder fan base decided, hey, this is a real guy and Sam Presti's a genius. For me, that guy was Ty Jerome. Now, in his first season, he only played 33 games, but he was awesome. And I became very obsessed with a stupid small sample stat. In over 3 pick and roll possessions per game as a ball handler, Ty Jerome was generating 1.19 points per possession. Now, for context, this season, SGA and Tyrese Halliburton lead the league in pick and roll ball handler efficiency, 1.1. points per possession. Ty Jerome was off the charts, Andrew. Now, was it only 100 possessions total? Yes. And did it crater to 0.89 points per possession in his second season with OKC? Also, yes.
Yes, it did.
I was still convinced that Ty Jerome was a guy. And when he went to Golden State, I thought, okay, this is his chance. And he was solid, but he didn't stick. And then he barely played for the Cavs last season after getting injured in the second game of the season, which was actually against OKC. Yeah. And I'd kind of forgotten about him at that point. So when it all finally came together this season, I was just so pleasantly surprised to not just see him back on a roster, but the fact that he was doing it on one of the best teams in the league and making them better just made it really awesome. And now it just feels like locked in, like Ty Jerome. I mean, people are talking about him as like, I saw some people putting him third in like most improved player, or talking about him as like a, maybe not like a sixth man or seventh man of the year type of award type of thing. He's just been awesome. And it's just very fun to think back to those early tanking days and how obsessed we were with, Svi Mihailuk, I was getting into all these guys, Hamidou Diallo, and Ty Jerome ends up being the best out of that bunch.
It is pretty wild. That is pretty wild that he has become the best player of that bunch. Al, I'm going with the Houston Rockets. I'm just pleasantly surprised by how good they've been, and really how good they've been lately, because it wasn't that long ago. On March 4th, they were 37-25, looking like a team that was just more in like the middle of the pack of the West, and like they could be a play-in team. What's going to happen here? Since then, they've gone 15-3 in their last 18 games. Like, this has been a very good basketball team. They've beaten a lot of good teams. They beat the Thunder most recently, beat them like a drum, in fact. And I just think that Ime Udoka has done such a good job. I mean, they're getting so much from so many guys. They have 7 guys that are averaging double figures right now. And you think about some of the guys they have on their team, like Jabari Smith and Amin Thompson and Jalen Green, like all top picks. They've meshed pretty well for guys that are selected in the top 5 of the draft like that probably should have a lot of ego. And just being able to manage that, I think, has been super impressive. Şengün's emergence has been super impressive as an all-star as well. And the defense has just been monstrous. Now they do need to like establish who like the star of the team is, but man, like you're feeling really good about this team, and they've done it in short order as well. I think it wasn't that long ago that Raphael Stone was a punchline to a lot of people with what they were doing. And now you like feel great about them, and you feel like, okay, they're a move away. They have a lot of guys that they could trade away. Thinking about Reed Shepherd, if they need like the centerpiece of a deal, like some teams could convince themselves that a guy who hasn't really played for them is the centerpiece of a deal. And they have all these draft picks. Cam Whitmore's another one that like you could throw in there and be like, oh, that's a great young prospect. And you could keep all these guys and you could just add a star onto that team. And so, I mean, I know that they were saying like it was overstated, the Kevin Durant interest, but with the little amount that you actually have to give up for Kevin, like talent wise, if you just threw Kevin Durant on this team with the defense around them, like, I don't know, like this is a team that's going to be interesting really fast. And I think, like we said earlier about their odds, I think even without a trade, this is a very interesting team. And so I was pleasantly surprised at how good this Rockets team has been, for sure.
Man, shout out to the Rockets star of the Slammies so far. They've picking up so much hardware tonight, Andrew.
It's unfortunate.
All right, our next award, the At Least You're Not Nico Harrison Award. Now, this award goes to the worst in-season decision that does not involve Nico Harrison. So you can't pick the Luka trade. And I'm going with the De'Aaron Fox trade. Now, I think if you look at the value in a vacuum, it's not the worst trade I've ever seen. But why I hated that trade was that I felt it showed a complete lack of vision from the Kings front office. They were the 10th seed when they made that trade. The odds of them getting better in the short term in any De'Aaron Fox trade was always going to be low because he was going to be the best player in any deal. But instead of using that trade as an opportunity to pivot, they made treading water the priority in that deal. Yeah. And they're a great example of how the play-in has warped our view of where teams are at. They are 7.5 games back of the 8th seed. They are not a good team, They aren't close to being a good team in this Western Conference. And 2 seasons from now, the 26-27 season, DeRozan's going to be 37. Levine and Sabonis will be on the wrong side of 30. And the Kings will have just under $150 million committed to those 3. Unless you think Zach LaVine's going to turn down his $49 million player option. They've locked themselves into this older core that has no chance of competing in this Western Conference, and they could be fighting just to make the play-in in future seasons as younger teams like San Antonio, New Orleans, and Portland improve. So if you knew that swapping Fox for Levine wasn't going to make you better, which I think everyone would have agreed with at the time, why would you trade for him? It's not like they were trading for a contract that they could potentially flip for value later. The reporting for 2 seasons now was how cold the market was for Zach LaVine, and Chicago's return in that deal supports that idea. So what was the vision with that trade? They made themselves worse, which I think was inevitable. That's not a problem. But they also limited their future flexibility by trading for the LaVine contract, and the upside is a couple picks, the best of which won't convey until 2031. I just think that trade was really bad and is only going to look worse in these next couple seasons.
Yeah. They put themselves in a really bad position, and they did a very bad thing.
And they're fine.
They're fine. I don't know if they're fine. I don't know if they're fine. Oh, man. I had a couple here. Honorable mention is the Brandon Ingram trade to the Raptors, where the Raptors I feel like are just like trapping themselves in mediocrity. Yeah. I don't like moves like that. Overall, Zach Kleiman at the trade deadline traded Marcus Smart in a first-round pick. And if you were to look out and say, hey, just say this out loud. Hey, the Grizzlies are going to trade Marcus Smart in a first-round pick. What do you think they're going to get back? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I bet you they could get somebody useful. They got back Marvin Bagley and Johnny Davis. That's what they got back.
2 seconds, Andrew.
And 2 seconds. That's what they got back for our first round pick. They also gave away Jake LaRavia in this deal, which we know the cap restrictions, the fact that they declined his 4th-year option. We all know that. But to trade away 2 guys that could play for you in LaRavia and Smart in the one deal, and a first round pick, and you get back 2 guys that you know can't play for you. Like, these are former lottery picks. Yeah, we all know the names, Johnny Davis, Marvin Bagley, but 2 guys that can't play for you. And this wasn't within their control, but like Jalen Wells being out for the season is a bummer. Brandon Clark being out for the season is a bummer. They fired their coach, Taylor Jenkins, and it's not gone well. I think they're 3-4 since they fired him. Like that, to me, like, you strip the depth of your team. And a lot of this is just about saving money at the end of the day. And so just a disaster, in my opinion, to just give away, and not only give away, but pay to give away 2 rotation players that would be helping them a lot. I mean, look at what's happened to the Wizards. Like, Smart's not that bad. Like, what are we doing here? Like, that to me is just wild. And they clearly need somebody like Marcus Smart, especially now that Jalen Wells is out. I think that is one that if the Nico Harrison, Luka, all that didn't happen, I think we'd be talking a lot more about Zach Kleiman and the Grizzlies and in a really terrible direction that they're going. And
hey, shout out to the Kings, because I do think that Jake LaRavia pickup was very nice, considering they basically didn't have to give up that much at all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's a rotation player.
Next award, we got 3 left, Andrew. Best take of the year. Now, this award goes to the take that we are most proud of. And for me, it was being out on the Grizzlies pretty early as a contender.
I did a nice little setup for you right there, Al.
Yeah, you did. I was sniffing it out early, Andrew. I didn't like what I was seeing. I didn't understand why everyone was getting excited about the Grizzlies. They had by far the easiest schedule. And yes, they did beat the Celtics, and that's why I shut up about it after that. But I didn't change my beliefs about that team. And as soon as their schedule turned in the new year, it has just been, I mean, I think they only have 14 wins against teams with a record of 500 or better. That is fewer than the Chicago Bulls. That's fewer than the Atlanta Hawks, just to give you some context. And more broadly, I just never understood the idea of considering a team a serious contender that was starting 2 rookies. Now, maybe there was some expectation at the beginning of the season that by the end of the season, that might have changed with, Vince Williams coming back or whatever. But yeah, I just never bought into this Grizzlies team. They're obviously still a good team and they still have a lot of talent. But I think going into this offseason, like there has to be something else added to this team to really help them get over the hump. I think they can be a good team. They can be one of these teams that finishes as like a 2 or 3 seed, but I'm still just not convinced that they are ready to be in that contender conversation yet. And some of that is Ja. Like Ja has to, he's been playing a lot better lately. He has to play like that over the course of an entire season for me to like really buy into them.
Yeah. I think that's all very fair. Mine is, and this actually didn't end up working out like I would have hoped, but I still feel really good about picking the Hawks as my surprise team. And they have suffered a ton of injuries. Obviously, Jalen Johnson going out in January was a really big deal. Like he was on his way to at least being considered for the All-Star team, I think, and was having just an incredible season, but losing him was a huge deal. But I think you just feel much better about the Hawks moving forward than you did before. And I don't think that you should really question about, is Trae Young going to be there? I think he absolutely should be there. I think that he's the kind of star that they need. And when you surround him with guys like Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu's had a nice season, Zachary Risachet has been really good for them. I think that you're kind of onto something. And so I like the Hawks. I think that they can have some growth and have a bounce back year if you get Jalen Johnson, back. And I think this is a team that could surprise next year in the Eastern Conference. And like that to me is like the biggest message. Like they're in the Eastern Conference. I think that you have a lot of these young guys, Jalen Johnson's only 23. Dyson Daniels, is it true that he's only 22 years old? Like he just turned 22. Yeah. There's a lot of growth to be had still in Atlanta. And I think this could be a team that if they can make the right kind of trade or bring in the right kind of guy, to just kind of complement this group, like this could be a team that is fighting for home court advantage in the Eastern Conference. Like I think that still is in there somewhere. They could be in like the class of Indiana, like it would have surprised you if they were, where the Indiana Pacers are. Like I wouldn't be shocked by that. So I'm going with with my take on the Hawks. I think that they're set up pretty well moving forward.
Yeah, I didn't mention it, but Risachet, career high, 38 points this week. Yeah. Very impressive. Yeah. And I think going into the season, I'm sure Spurs fans were feeling good. They were thinking, we might get a juicy pick. And they still might end up getting a lottery pick if Atlanta doesn't get out of the play-in. But, right now that's the 15th pick in the draft. And I think going into the season, you probably were expecting, that might be closer to like a top 10 pick. So credit to the Hawks. Now, Andrew, it's our worst take of the year award. The award goes to the take that we are most embarrassed by. Yeah. And this didn't happen on this podcast, but it was on Down to Dunk. We do over-unders every year. And I took the Cleveland Cavaliers under, which was such a bad take at the time. And I should have, there were so many signs, not pointing them to be this great of a team, but there's so many signs pointing them to be better. The whole idea with Darius Garland having this jaw injury, coming back, having a new coach that everyone kind of universally agrees was a good coach, based on what he had done in Brooklyn with Kenny Atkinson. And I think what happened with me is I liked some of these other East teams more. Okay. For instance, like the Philadelphia 76ers, who I took the over. And as a result, I was like, I got to take someone under. I was just focused on the wrong teams. And I didn't take the Cavs as seriously as I should have, which makes me feel bad because when we started this podcast, they were the first team I picked for surprise team. And that was when they had drafted Evan Mobley. And they came out and they were the surprise team that year. And I felt like I abandoned them this year. And so I am embarrassed by that. And it was so wrong.
Yeah, mine, I have a lot that I could choose from, I think. I didn't like the Jimmy Butler trade for the Warriors, and that still may that still may not go like great for them. Like if they lose in round one, are they still feeling good about doing that extension, bringing him around? I mean, Steve Kerr today on the radio even said that the lineup with Draymond, Jimmy, and Jonathan Kuminga just doesn't work. He's saying that on the record. Like that's pretty rough. It's a rough position to be in. But obviously they look much better with Jimmy. So I feel like that was the wrong take. I also said that I thought that Jamal Murray and Mikal Bridges would be on the All-Star team, that they would make their first All-Star teams this year. I don't feel good about that. I'm sure that I could come up with 100 other ones, but those are the ones that keep me awake at night.
So that brings us to our final award. It's not really an award. It's the bold prediction for the NBA playoffs award. I'm just realizing the sequence of these and what I'm about to say. So first of all, making a bold prediction, I feel like it has to be something that you are uncomfortable saying, that you feel dumb when the words come out of your mouth.
For sure.
I feel like it's kind of hard to do that in the Western Conference because you could kind of make a case for any of these teams. Unless you're saying like the Kings are going to win the first round series or the Mavs are going to win. Outside of that, like you can kind of believe anything. So I was trying to think of something that would be bold, but is like kind of believable. So what I settled on, coming off of the very last award, the Pacers are going to make their second consecutive Eastern Conference Finals. Now, here's the case. Okay. Since December 13th, that's 54 games. They have the fourth best record overall in the NBA. Not just the fourth best record. They've won over 70% of their games in that 54 game span. That's kind of incredible because I don't think people are thinking of them in that way. But that's a huge chunk of the season. They were just so bad at the start that now you just look at them and it's like, oh, they're a 4 seed. They beat Cleveland this week. I don't really care about that because Cleveland was shorthanded. But there is at least something we can look back on, which is that they beat Cleveland at home when Cleveland was at their absolute peak. They ended a Cavs 12-game winning streak at that point in the season. So they've at least shown that they match up decently with the Cavaliers. Now, the Cavaliers are going to be the overwhelming favorites if that ends up being the matchup in round 2. But if I'm trying to think of a potential upset, something that would be surprising, that would be bold, I think the Pacers are about the best I can do. They're the one that like it wouldn't. I mean, I don't know if I should say it wouldn't shock me. It would be very surprising. But I think we look back on it as like, well, look what they've been in like the second 2/3 of this season. Like they've been a really good team. They've matched up well against Cleveland this season. So why not? So that is going to be my bold prediction for the NBA playoffs.
Wow. That is bold. That's bold and spicy. That's
guaranteed
bold and spicy.
Bold. Can't say it's not bold.
I'm going to have the Detroit Pistons moving on to round 2. Is that bold?
I think that will be the popular upset pick in round 1.
Okay. Not bold enough.
Can you? Okay. How about this? How many games? Here we go. I'll give you bold if you say 5 or less.
I was going to say gentlemen sweep. Knicks.
Okay. There we go.
Okay,
gentlemen sweep. That's bold.
There's my bold and spicy take right there. Is that they will gentlemen sweep the New York Knicks. Actually, it feels bold because I'm having a very hard time saying it and believing it.
That's the point. You have to feel really weird when the words come out of your mouth.
So weird about saying it, but here we go.
You know it's bold.
I like the Pistons. I like a lot of people that cover the Pistons, and I'll go.
You're picking the Pistons because you like their media members, Andrew?
That's what I think about them. I can't separate them. So sure. For Bryce Simon, sure.
You're making your playoff picks and you're just thinking, I like James Edwards. He's such a nice guy.
I do like James a lot, but this is me picking against James. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot. Oh my gosh. I will always associate James with the Pistons, even though he is literally on the opposite team now.
Oh no. Well, those are Slammies. Let us know what you agree with, disagree with. Let us know. You can comment on Spotify is a place you can comment. You can also comment if you're listening on the Athletic app and then also on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube right now watching, Let us know what you agree with, disagree with in the comments. We would appreciate that. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about the Blazers on the other side of this break.
All right, Andrew, it is time for the Wheel of Fandom, the weekly segment where we spin a wheel, it lands on a team, and we become fans of that team for the next week. Last week, the wheel landed on the Portland Trailblazers. Now, the Blazers' play-in dreams were officially eliminated this week after their second half push, during which they had an above 500 record. They had a positive net rating. The Blazers are now, though, waiting for the draft lottery, where they will likely have the 9th or 10th best odds. Per Cleaning the Glass for the season, the Blazers had the 23rd ranked offense, 17th ranked defense. Andrew, if the Blazers are our favorite team, who is our guest?
We've got Mike Richman, host of the Locked on Blazers podcast. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here to make my debut.
Yes, beautiful. The Blazers this week announced a multi-year extension for GM Joe Cronin. He's had the job for 3.5 years now and has overseen an almost complete makeover of the Blazers roster. What do you think about Cronin's performance as GM so far, and do you think the extension was well-deserved?
It's so mixed, his overall performance, right? Like, I think he did a pretty good job of getting out from under the Damian Lillard mess that he also created. I think that the recent trades to acquire Denny Avdia and also Toumani Camara, who was part of a larger trade, which maybe didn't have the best headliner that you could imagine, and DeAndre Ayton. But I think Toumani and Denny have been good enough as wings and young wings that you're like, yeah, that's a part of something that could be a good basketball team. And I think for the first time this year, particularly second half of this season, his lottery picks in Shade Sharp and Donovan Clingan and Scoot Henderson have all shown enough promise that you're like, okay, I start to see the vision. And yet he still has Anthony Simons on the roster. Rob Williams never got traded, not when he first arrived, not after he stuck around after an injury, and not before he got injured another time. DeAndre Ayton's probably untradeable. Anthony Simons, still there. And Jeremy Grant, who he gave a massive contract to, even though both him and Jeremy knew Damian Lillard was out the door, they still gave him $160 million. So it's like you kind of see where they're headed and why they're headed there. But I think the vision from like pretty decent, competent team, which they've turned into, to like actually competitive basketball team remains like a bit mystifying. Is it deserving? I don't know. No one deserves anything in this world, and we all deserve everything at the same time. So I'm not surprised he got a new contract by any means.
Do you expect Chauncey to stick around?
I do not expect Chauncey Billups to be the coach of the Blazers next year, in part because when they announced the future of the franchise and the multi-year contract for the GM who's going to lead the vision into the future, they didn't mention Chauncey Billups, and they also didn't announce a contract extension for Chauncey Billups. He has a team option for next season. He's coached 4 years here. I think it is misleading to judge Chauncey Billups by his win-loss record, which is horrendous because the Blazers lost on purpose for a good chunk of that. But and undoubtedly the best stretch of Billups's career has been the last 3 months. Like he's been pretty good. Although I do think often we say coach win good, coach lose bad, which is maybe a little too simple. But if the Blazers were going to keep Billups, they've had a lot of opportunities to do so. And I believe he will probably be a coach in the NBA next season, but I would doubt it would be for the Portland Trailblazers.
So Scoot Henderson, his rookie season was a little bit worrying, but he seemed to find his footing this season, proved his efficiency. He shot 38% from three on good volume in his final 46 games. So now that Blazers fans can kind of breathe a little easier, knowing that he's probably not a bust, what parts of his game does he need to develop for him to take that next step?
He's got to make layups. It's a pretty simple one for him. He's got to make layups. The finishing is just not quite there for him yet. People used to say when he couldn't shoot and couldn't make shots, like, well, at least he gets to his spots. What does that mean? He doesn't have spots. But he's shooting well enough from the outside now, and a lot of it is teams going under screens. They say shoot it, and he's kind of cut out the step back out of his diet, and instead of just said he doesn't have to step back, he can just wait till you go under, and he can shoot a three because he doesn't have to go anywhere. So I think he's taking smarter shots. And hopefully at some point that 3-point shooting translates to the respect that allows you to drive a little bit more, but he just is still a below average finisher. And if he's going to be a really good player, the Scoot that is a really good player makes layups at a pretty high level.
What do you think that is? Because, at least last year he shot, over 80% from the line. He seems to be developing his touch from the outside. Like, is it a touch issue around the rim or a footwork issue?
It's feet, a lot of it. He plays a little bit small when he jumps off 2 feet. So like if he has runway and he can spring off of 1 foot, he's pretty athletic. But he's not maybe the athlete that he was billed as. Like he's not quite, he's probably not John Wall. And he's certainly not Russell Westbrook, right? Like he's not that tier of athlete. He's an athletic point guard to be sure, but he's probably not in that, whatever that percentile is, the 98th and above percentile. So sometimes he plays a little small when he has to jump off 2 feet. So he gets caught and gets kind of can get in a crowd. And he was really bad with his left hand early in his career. He's really improved his left hand finishing. That's like a thing he can do a little bit. But I think a lot of it is getting his footwork and his balance when he gets around the rim becomes a problem for him.
Yeah, he's shooting 55% in the restricted area, which is not great for a star. It's a little better than Jeremy Grant's 46%, but we don't have to talk about that. Let's talk about Donovan Clingan. He's the Blazers' big name rookie this year, 7th overall pick in last year's draft. He's already shown some significant defensive upside this year. What's something about his game that stands out to you that might not be obvious to someone who doesn't watch the Blazers every night?
He is a real MFer. Like he is, Donovan Clingan is down to brawl. And I don't know that you always see that with rookie big men trying to find the way. Sometimes you see there are some Steven Adamses out there, right? Like Steven Adams kind of came into the league and was like, I'll fight. Like I'm down to fight. I'll fight everybody.
Yeah,
but
sure.
A lot of young big guys are like, I got to figure out where. Maybe they commit hard fouls, but they don't like beef. And I think Clingan's competitiveness, particularly not backing down when guys go right at him and draw kind of silly fouls on him, I think that is an appealing part of his game, because just the willingness to mix it up speaks well for what they're going to need him to be. Because his future is being gigantic and physical, and he's already willing to do that.
Before I ask you about the draft lottery, I did want to ask about Shaedon Sharpe, because he seems to have taken like a kind of nice post All-Star break jump. He's playing a little better post All-Star break. How much of that do you feel is real, or is there anything that he's done post All-Star break that you can really point to and feel like, okay, this can definitely carry over to next season?
You know what I think is a myth? I think Mickey Mouse March is a myth. There
Really?
are times.
Whoa, okay.
There are times when it is very obvious that you are racking up stats against nonsense teams. There was a game, Shaedon Sharpe's rookie year, where he had 37 boards, 7 assists, 37 and 7. And the team kept pointing to it all the time. One of the only rookies to have 35 and 5 before his night. They lost by 42 to the Kings that night. That's Mickey Mouse, okay? That is Mickey Mouse. But sometimes you are playing, you are expanding your role and playing in competitive minutes that you otherwise would not. Certainly the Washington Wizards pulling Alex Sarr from the game can lead to some Mickey Mouse nonsense. But I do think there are just competitive games. Like the Blazers have played some good teams who play their guys. And you see, okay, in an expanded role, you can do some other stuff. I think maybe the box score, if you just watch the box score, the Mickey Mouse stuff is real. But if you watch the games, the minutia of it, and I am blessed and cursed to watch every minute of the Trailblazers, I think you could see real things. That said, all of this Shaedon Sharpe stuff in March is bull. No, it's all Disney magic. No, he's been good. He's the big difference for him, and I think this is the challenge that they will have going forward, is that they've had a lot less Anfernee Simons and a lot less Scoot consistently, which has meant more on-ball reps for Sharp, and he just looks better with the ball in his hands. When he's an off-ball guy, he can get lost a little bit, and his maybe aggression wanes a little bit, or he's like, I gotta shoot because I'm supposed to score, and he takes like stupid shots. But I think he's had the ball in his hands more, and he can build a comfort if he knows he's going to have on-ball reps. Like he just looks better that way, which is something they're going to have to figure out going forward, because Denny's going to have the ball and Scoot's going to have the ball, and probably not Anthony Simons, but another guard will have the ball too, and they'll have to figure out sort of the balance with that.
Okay, so thinking now about the draft, outside of the obvious names, obviously it'd be wonderful to jump up and get Cooper Flagg. That would be an amazing fit. But is there anyone in the mid-lottery that you're already thinking about? Someone you like that you think might fit with this current Blazers roster?
You know, they need shooting. So it's like, is Con Knippel that guy? Maybe. I'm not super excited about Con Knippel's overall upside as an NBA player, but I bet he'll play in the league for 10 years because he's the right size. He's got good physicality and he can shoot. Like that's an NBA player. I don't know if it's a really good NBA player, but when I watch him, I'm like, yeah, that dude's going to play in the league. So he's a name that's probably in that range that makes some sense. I think Rasheer Fleming is a name that kind of makes some sense if the shooting is real, because they could use like a stretchy big. I think that's the skill set. Maybe Liam McNeely, but I've kind of soured on him a little bit. But those are the names because I think they need shooting. But I don't know that they're in a spot. I don't know anyone who's going to be drafting the lottery is in a spot where they should draft for a skill set. But just like thinking about the Blazers' needs, those are their needs. You know, I think one of the most interesting scenarios for the Blazers is if they do jump up and it's like VJ Edgecombe and Dylan Harper are choices where they land. It's like, what do you do? What do you do? Do you believe in your guys or do you bring in the talent? I think that would be a really fascinating scenario. And for the content purposes, I am obviously rooting for it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I would really love VJ for them. Like if not in that scenario where they're choosing between Dylan Harper and VJ, but VJ just having like a defensive guy in that backcourt to go along with Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson. I just think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean they have a bunch of dudes who can defend, but if Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot are their future in the backcourt, I don't know that you can have enough defenders, right? Like, right. I think Scoot has improved a lot on defense, but he's 6'2". What are you gonna do? There's not that many guys who are really good consistently on defense of that size, and Shaedon Sharpe's pretty bad on defense. So I think that is a question mark for him.
Mm-hmm. So I think the Blazers have a lot of options in front of them, and I'm just curious what your hopes are for the Blazers, and then what do you expect them to do this summer?
Oh man. My hope is that they make the big structural changes that they have resisted making for several cycles now. I don't know that you can trade, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I don't know that you can trade DeAndre Ayton. Like I don't know that that's an option. I don't know that you can trade Jeremy Grant because he forgot how to make 2-pointers. But at some point you could. He was tradable. I think Anthony Simons is tradable to some extent. I don't know that he has this. That is not the type of player that has a lot of value in the trade market, but movable without a doubt. Movable depending on what your asking price is. But I think it's time to really clear the decks to let the youngsters play. But there is a weird world, and I think this goes to what I think they will do, is where they took a step forward this year. Are they willing to take a step back? Are they willing to trade those guys and get a little bit worse in the immediate term, or do they say we won 37 games, we sure as hell don't want to win 31 or 28 or something, you know? Like they are where they're resistant to make necessary moves because they're worried about the sort of outward appearance of the rebuild being non-linear all of a sudden. Yeah, I wonder if that has been eased up at all with this Cronin extension, where he's not like under the gun and it might feel like he has to make a move. But I can certainly understand it from like a Blazers fan position, because it has now been, it would be like 4 or 5 years at that point where you kind of go into the season, if they do make those kind of big moves, kind of knowing that they're not going to be in the playoffs again. But I don't know. I feel like there was so much improvement from the young guys, and then the combo of Denny and Tumani is just like such a fun combo to watch. And so I don't know, as a neutral observer living in Portland who gets to go to a lot of Blazers games, like I would enjoy it. I would enjoy not having to see some of the older guys on the roster play and just play the young guys. But I could understand why some Blazers fans would be frustrated. Yeah, I mean, I think it just would be really, really, really bizarre if year 3 Scoot Henderson is not your starting point guard.
Yeah,
Totally.
Like it's just good, bad, whatever. It's weird. It'd be weird. You draft him 3rd overall and he goes into his 3rd season and it's like, well, yeah, he's going to be a backup. It's like, okay, well, you drafted a backup at 3, like that's, I think that is one of the things that they need to look in the mirror and decide what the deal is. I think the way that would be palatable is, I guess, if Dylan Harper was your starting point guard or whatever, but yeah. I don't think, I don't think there's, if DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simons are back, that means that you have 2 recent lottery picks who have at least shown some promise in Scoot and Donovan Clingan, who have been coming off the bench again. And that's just weird. Yeah. That's weird. That's a weird way to run a basketball team.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thank you for answering all of our Blazers questions. It is now time to play Andrew versus the Beat, our weekly trivia show where Andrew goes head-to-head against an NBA beat writer this week, Mike Richman from the Locked On Blazers podcast. Now, Mike, how this works, I've come up with 8 questions about the Blazers. You're going to give me a number between 1 and 8. It will correspond to a question. If you get it right, you'll get at least 2 points. If you get it wrong, Andrew will have a chance to steal for 1, and then we'll go back and forth until all the questions have been asked and answered. So to start us off, I just need a number between 1 and 8.
We'll go 8 like Bonzi Wells. Was Bonzi 8? Am I right about that?
Bonzi Wells.
I hope he was 8. Otherwise, there's going to be Blazers fans already yelling at you.
They're so mad. He was 6. We'll go 6 with Bonzi Wells, and we'll be embarrassed.
Okay, Anthony Simons. Honestly, didn't have a great season, I didn't think, but he did hit a career-high 215 three-pointers this season, moving him into 3rd place all-time for most three-pointers made, Blazers franchise history. We're going to name the other 9 players in the top 10 for most threes in Blazers franchise history. How this works, you'll give me a name, and then Andrew will give me a name, and we'll go back and forth until one of you stumbles. So who would you like to start with?
I'll go with Damian Lamont Ollie Lillard Sr.
Let me scroll here. And he is on the list. Number 1. Correct. Andrew.
Oh, boy. CJ McCollum.
Number 2 on the list. Back to Mike.
Wesley Matthews.
Number 4 on the list. Recently
Wesley
supplanted
Matthews.
by Anthony Simons.
Wow.
So, Andrew, back to you.
What about Damon Stoudemire?
Damon Stoudemire, he was number 7 on the list. That is correct. Back to Mike.
Terry Porter.
Terry Porter was number 5
Terry
on the
Porter.
list. Back to Andrew. 4 names left. You guys are doing great. Already halfway there.
What about Batum?
Woo, Nicholas Batum, number 6, Andrew. So you guys are doing great. All you got left, 8, 9, and 10. You do a clean sweep here. So back to Mike.
8, 9, and 10.
Okay, it's got to be someone modern who was around. Batum was a good one because he had another contract. I'm gonna go. This is a bad choice. I'm gonna go Cliff Robinson.
Cliff Robinson. Is he on the list? Yes, he is. Number 9 on the list. Back to Andrew. Andrew, there's only 2 names left. Can you get one of them?
I don't know if this is right, just because this is not the 3-point era. But the dude was just a ridiculous bucket. What about Drexler?
Clyde Drexler, Andrew. He is number 10 on the list. That means we've gotten to the final name. It is number 8 on the list, 8th in Blazers franchise history, most made threes, and it is up to Mike to get it. Can you name number 8?
Number 8. Oh, man.
Andrew, do you have any names left, or was that your last hope?
I mean, I have some Blazers names floating around my head, but I don't have any clue who it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of just longevity. Because Clyde was my last guess. I was hoping you wouldn't go Clyde. I'm I don't know. I concede. Andrew, throw your last name out.
I mean, I don't think Rashid took enough threes, but I just think about Rashid, but I don't think he took enough threes as a Blazer.
It's kind of a surprising name because he didn't play in Portland for all that long, and it wasn't really the 3-point era. It was Steve Blake.
He had three stints, you know. That's a good guess. 3 stints.
Yeah,
that's true. So
Steve Blake,
he kept coming back, and he played at least in the post Curry era. So
he kept coming back.
That is just a name I haven't thought about in a while. Steve Blake, double first
Andrew,
name.
Congrats, you guys got 9 of 10. That's pretty good. Board is yours, Andrew.
I'll go number 1.
Question number 1. Denny Avdia is averaging 7.3 rebounds per game at 6'9". Who was the last Blazer who was 6'9" or shorter to average more rebounds per game than Denny?
The last Blazer that was 6'9" or shorter.
To average more than 7.3. Basically just a short guy, Andrew, okay? You don't have to make it too complicated. A short guy who got a lot of bounds, more bounds than Denny.
Is it Bonzi Wells? The aforementioned?
Incorrect, Andrew.
Okay.
Mike, any guesses?
Is it Scotty?
It is not. It is actually very recent. He only played 51 games that season because he was traded to the New York Knicks. It is Josh Hart.
Josh Hart. Oh my gosh.
Averaged over 8
because Denny
game.
is turbo Josh Hart. There you go.
Wow.
Okay, Mike, board is yours.
I'll go 8 for Martell Webster. That's a number I do know.
Martell Webster. Okay, here we go. Portland has had 113 clutch minutes this season. Okay, that's the minutes where the game is within 5 points with 5 or fewer minutes left. There are only 2 NBA teams with fewer clutch minutes. Who are they? Who are they?
Who are they?
Who are they? And as a hint, kind of a hint, these 2 teams have significantly fewer clutch minutes than Portland. That helps you at all. So Portland's at 113. These 2 teams significantly less.
I'm up first.
Yes.
I'll guess our beloved Washington Wizards.
That is correct for 1 point. Can you get the other team?
Again?
Yeah,
I'll go the other end of the
spectrum.
I'll go the other end of the spectrum and guess OKC.
Wow, Mike.
Yeah, that's
got it. Both of them. Boom. 2 points.
Nice.
All right, Andrew, board is yours.
Number 2.
Thank you. Okay. 7 is still available. I just accidentally marked it out. 2. Okay. When this player's on the court, Andrew, the Blazers are 6.4 points per 100 possessions better on offense. The best mark on the team, according to Cleaning the Glass. Who is it?
Wow.
When this guy's on the court, the offense is humming.
Huh. What about Time Lord?
Rob Williams. Good guess, Andrew, but that is incorrect. Mike, you have a chance to steal for 1 point.
Okay. I think it could be one of 2 obscure guys, but I'm just going to guess Sterling Scoot Henderson.
It is Scoot Henderson.
Wow.
Isn't that kind of
I know his on-off numbers suggest that he's good. I think that's
it suggests that he's good.
Well, it's like the Blazers vets. Like if you look at the on-off numbers, DeAndre Ayton sucks. Jeremy Grant unplayable.
Yeah.
Anthony Simons normal bad. But I don't want to spoil some potential ones. Maybe that'll be coming up in this trivia. But like Jabari Walker and Duop Reith are kind of on-off legends. But so it's like I don't. Is that meaningful? Do we think that means anything? But I know that Scoot's on-off numbers suggest that they're just straight up better when he plays, which I think is a good sign. Which is why they need to make him the starting point guard.
That is true. I'm looking at all of the guys who the defense swings the most, and it's all the bench guys. It's like Jabari Walker, T. Steibel, Chris Murray, Robert Williams. That makes sense. Okay. Mike, you've controlled the board. You also have a commanding lead, 3-1.
I'll go 3.
Question number 3. Donovan Clingan has already racked up 105 blocks in his rookie season. Who was the last Blazers rookie to have that many blocks in their rookie season?
Joel Prisbilla.
Joel Prisbilla. That is incorrect. Andrew, you have a chance to steal. Last Blazers rookie to have at least 105 blocks in their rookie season.
Joel Prisbilla is a great answer.
I love Joel Prisbilla.
He was good.
He was good.
Boy. Who would this be? I don't know if this guy did that though. That feels wrong. Shoot.
Any guesses, Andrew?
I do. I have guesses.
Okay, that's a good start.
I don't think Zach Collins did, but that's the name that just like keeps punching me in the head.
Okay,
Zach
is that your final answer?
Sure, whatever. Yeah,
Andrew, that is also incorrect. The correct answer. You have to go all the way back. No. Let's go all the way back to the 84-85 season. Sam Bowie.
Whoa.
Sam Bowie. Had a pretty nice rookie season. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, Andrew, board is yours. 3 questions remain. You got to get some points, Andrew.
Yeah, it's not going well. Number 4.
Number 4. Shaedon Sharpe has 65 dunks so far this season. Now, I wrote this question before the Utah Jazz game. I don't even actually know if Shaedon Sharpe's playing in that game.
He is.
He is. Okay, so he may have more. He may have 75. He may have 10 dunks in the game, Andrew. But he had 65 when I made this question. At only 6'6", he's one of only 7 players in the league who are 6'6" or shorter and have that many dunks this season. Can you name 2 of the other short dunkers? Okay, so there's 6 other short dunkers out there. You get 1 point per correct answer, and I'm going by their basketball reference listed height. So they have to be 6'6" or shorter.
6'6" or shorter dunkers.
A lot of dunks. Yeah. Short dunkers.
And what's the number of dunks?
65. 65.
65. You started 100. I was like, oh my gosh.
I did. Yeah, just more than 65.
Who would this be? 6'6", you say?
I do say.
6'6", you say? What about J-Dub?
J-Dub is one of the answers, Andrew.
Okay.
That's correct for 1 point.
Boy.
Can you get another one?
Who else would have that many dunks and be short? Short
relatively
king.
speaking.
Relatively short kings. Boy. This is a tough question.
Any other guesses? You could tie the game up, Andrew. Got this.
I would like to do that. I would like to do that.
Be nice for you.
I think the Thompson twins are 6'7", so I don't think that they qualify.
Okay.
I'm trying to go through my Rolodex in my head of teams and players. This is challenging. Dude, what about Christian Brown?
That is correct, Andrew. You got both points. Good job.
Yes.
Mike, when you were sitting there, were you thinking of any names? Any names?
Anthony Edwards?
Surprisingly, no. He would qualify, but he does not have that many dunks. Yeah, I thought he would be there too.
Doesn't like dunking.
And Ja, but he swore off dunking for whatever, like a game and a half, and then he doesn't
because
play
he
very
missed
much.
so many games. Yeah.
It is
Steph
sad that
Castle.
it's sad that both those guys don't dunk more, honestly.
Yeah.
Don't dunk more. Yeah.
Agree.
Steph Castle, as a rookie, is doing it. Zach LaVine, who I just always forget about as a dunker, but yes, he's a big dunker.
He's a dunker.
Bilal Coulibaly, who I thought was taller than 6'6".
Wait, what?
And
He's listed as 6'6"?
on Basketball Reference.
A big 6'6".
Wow.
I know. Again, I just had to go by something. And then Derek Jones Jr., again, thought he was taller than 6'6". He's apparently he's 6'5" on Basketball Reference. That was the other name. Okay, so that brings us to a tie game with only 2 questions remaining. Mike, would you like 5 or 7?
I'll go 5.
Question number 5. Robert Williams made his first career three-pointer this season. How many career three-point attempts does Time Lord have? Now, before you answer, you get to choose who answers first. So you can make Andrew answer, and then you just have to go higher or lower.
No.
Or you can answer, and Andrew goes higher or lower. Now, the risk is that if you make Andrew answer and he gets it exactly correct, he would get a bonus point. So what would you like to do?
I'm just going to throw out a number. I'm not going to shy away from this. I'm going to throw out a number. I'm going to say that Time Lord has attempted 7 3-pointers in his career.
Okay, Andrew, Mike has set the over-under at 7. Would you like to go higher or lower?
I'll go higher.
Higher. Well, in a Slam and Jam first, Mike has just won the week, even though there's one question remaining, because he got it exactly correct, which means he gets a bonus point, which means he has 6 points now to 3. He has won the week. Now, we still got one question left, but that was amazing. You nailed it. 7 3-point attempts.
7 3-point attempts. Wow.
Now, I'm very sad that this last question won't end up mattering, but I do love this question. I'm glad
you can make it count. You can make it count for 3 points if you wanted to, or 4 points.
It counts for 2. Andrew, you can get within 1. You can lose by 1 if you get this right. Okay. The Blazers' original mascot was Bigfoot. Okay. Actually, Bigfoot was played by a former Blazer. It was a former Blazer in the costume of Bigfoot.
Wow.
He only lasted from 1987 to 1989. Bigfoot's time as a mascot came to a premature end after an in-game skit caused the opposing coach to complain to the media. What was the offending skit? Now, I'm going to give you 4 possible answers, and you're going to tell me which of those Bigfoot did that got him ultimately fired. Okay. And you'll see that there's a pattern to these. Okay.
Okay.
Was it that Bigfoot crushed a leprechaun under his foot while Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond played? Was it that Bigfoot crushed a model of the Golden Gate Bridge while I Left My Heart in San Francisco by Tony Bennett played? Was it Bigfoot crushed a model of the Hollywood sign while LA Woman by The Doors played? Or was it Bigfoot crushed multiple models of several American-made cars while Detroit Rock City by Kiss played? Which one got Bigfoot fired, Andrew?
I'll go with the leprechaun.
The leprechaun crushed under his foot. Andrew, that is incorrect. Mike, do you happen to know this piece of Blazers lore?
I don't. I knew that he got axed, and now they brought him back. And I have a 2-year-old, and we've been to some games this year, and she loves Dougie. They brought Dougie. They got Dougie Fur, who's the new mascot, the new Sasquatch mascot, and she loves Dougie. So we talk a lot about the new age mascot in my home.
Now, Mike, before you answer, can I ask you a mascot question? Because was the original plan with Dougie to phase out Blaze the Trail Cat, or was it always to have 2?
So I believe the plans is to have 2, but it does feel like they're murdering Blaze. It feels like he is just going to end up in, he's not going to show up to work next year. And I feel
honestly, I thought he was doing a great job, and then Dougie comes out of nowhere, got a big old smile on his face.
Well,
people seem to like him.
The last game we were at, I was at Sunday afternoon's game. We go to the matinees, and Blaze did a stunt off the ladder, and I'm like, Dougie's not doing that, baby. Long live Blaze. But my guess to this question is the cars, smashing the cars.
Well, the opposing coach was Don Nelson, who was coaching the Golden State Warriors at the time.
Man.
And Bigfoot crushed a model of the Golden Gate Bridge.
So offensive.
I left my heart.
It's extremely offensive. Extremely offensive.
I thought the cars was the easiest thing to replicate. That was my guess. It was the easiest thing to replicate.
I don't know why this was so offensive to Don Nelson, but why the Blazers took his criticisms so seriously and fired Bigfoot as a result. I would love to know more about this story, but unfortunately, that's all I have for you. That was all that was on Wikipedia. So,
wow. Well, what a performance! What a performance! That was. I'm still just in shock that Mike answered that question. Absolutely correct, Mike. Thanks so much for coming on. Go listen to Locked On Blazers. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. The Blazers haven't played a really meaningful game in a while, but I do still do a daily podcast, so check it out if you enjoyed my oeuvre.
Hey, draft coming up.
That's right.
Draft season.
Yeah, listen, this is a little inside baseball, but the season's about to end on Sunday, and then there's a month until the draft lottery, and that is the hardest time of the year for the have-nots to podcast. A daily podcast about nothing. About nothing. But I will still do a great job, so come check it out. Please come check it out.
Check it out. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, Al. It's time to put the wheel of fandom to bed for the year because we are not spinning the wheel anymore because we have the playoffs to talk about. So we'll be getting guests specifically about teams. We don't want the wheel screwing this up. We don't want to be in the middle of April and somehow hit the Jazz and be like, what are we supposed to do now? No, we'll be talking about these playoff teams. And so we'll pick interesting teams from week to week. We'll preview the playoffs next week. So the playoffs start next Saturday. And so we'll be dropping a preview for you guys to listen to that morning and all day that day as we try to preview as many games as possible. But you can still leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or read on the show, just like this one from Arcane Jackalope. He says, Slam and Jam has been my favorite NBA show for years. You guys are the best. Thanks for a great show. P.S. Bring back ghost points. Bring back ghost points, Al. Sticky Wizard 00 says Slam and Jam has become the most unique and fun podcast covering the NBA, all while still educating listeners and making them smarter NBA fans. Andrew and Alex's chemistry is obvious, and I hope this podcast lives on until I am dead. Thank you, Sticky Wizard, for that one. And then our final one is from the Gillman, Gilser. 5 stars. Love the Slam and Jam. They said 2 goats couldn't coexist, and they were wrong. Thank you so much for leaving that review. Again, leave us a 5-star review. We'll read it on the show. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the real intense basketball because the West race is just intense. It's just going to be so exciting. So enjoy the basketball. We'll talk to you guys again next week.